All right, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Well, hanging in there.
It's been a long day, I know. All right. So, how many of you have grown up in Texas? How many of you know or kind of know the rules of football and how it kind of plays out? So, a good chunk of the class. Well, let me explain to you guys just a little bit. We're actually going to teach you guys 5 ways to gain a professional edge in a football game, and this can actually be used anywhere in your leadership skills, whether it be your workplace, a school project like you guys are doing now, or even just in general for individual self-basis. Let's jump right into the agenda. So, how football works is it goes by quarters. Obviously, these are periods in time of how long it takes for a player or a team, and it goes by breaks so that they get a break individually in between these quarters. So our first quarter, and each quarter will be a chapter. Our first quarter, we're going to start off with beginning with a vision or a goal, how to set one, essentially how to produce yourself for success and your team for success, so you guys know what you're going for. Because you don't want to go into something and not have a goal setting. By doing that, you're just going to waste time and you don't know what you're going to evaluate or even just produce. Second chapter or second quarter, you're going to develop your vision. So you're going to take that goal or vision that you set for yourself and you're going to develop it and you're going to produce it into something that you can achieve. Third quarter, we're going to go into the communicate your vision. So we're going to communicate essentially to your team members or even to yourself, because leadership is not only about team members or individuals. It's about yourself, and it's about leading yourself and overall team to go and hit that goal. Then we're going to go into the fourth quarter or fourth chapter. You're going to lead from below. What leading from below is, it's going to lead you guys to present, especially when you're not in a leadership position, right? Not everyone's going to be a director, not everyone's going to be a manager, not everyone's going to be a professor. So you have to understand that leading from below, or essentially pushing yourselves and your bosses to do certain things, is always a good thing and not sometimes a bad thing. Next, we're going to go into overtime, or the extra period, our fifth chapter, to focus on that vision. That way you're able to hit your goals and overall achieve success in your overall individual selves and of course your firms as well. We're going to go into a brief summary at the end and hit a Q&A towards the very, very end for answering all your questions. And then in the middle of it, we're going to actually have a halftime period where we give you guys a little bit of a break to watch our video of our overall leadership skills. And then of course throughout the video and presentation, you will see a referee calling timeout. That'll actually be presentation for our activity, so please be aware. And of course we'll actually ask you guys random questions and throw you a football to ask you guys questions, and then if you get it right, you'll get some candy. Just keep you guys awake a little bit there. So let's jump right into it. First quarter, we're going to begin with the vision. Beginning with the vision is exactly like how it sounds, right? Beginning with a goal or something to achieve. If you look at it, touchdowns is something you're able to do. Those are things that you should do throughout your presentations or your individual goals or your individual visions. Those are things you should do. So setting your goal is obviously the first thing to do. You have to know what you're achieving. You have to know what you're going for. Without setting a goal, you're not going to know what you're going to achieve, and you're not going to know that end goal. So doing everything you're doing, whether it be in a workplace, a presentation, whatever it may be, you're going to end up just going for nothing because you're not finishing anything. You're not going to do anything. For example, the presentations. You guys' end goal is to essentially train us on whatever chapter you're doing, right? So in this case, you're training us on, let's say, Team 7. What's your chapter?
My chapter is So Smart But He Thinks He Knows It All. It's not part of the book, but it's an article.
Okay, perfect. So, I mean, you have a goal to set for that, right? To train us on that book or overall article that you guys are presenting. The second thing is to shape that goal, right? How do you guys want to present it? How do you want to train us to remember this information? Because you don't want to just speak to individuals or team members or peers and then just forget everything you said. That makes it very useless, right? The overall point of it is to train and evaluate yourself so that we take away information that we can use to enhance our knowledge and professionalism in the workplace. The third thing is communicating your vision. You want to communicate the vision to all your team members or individual selves, whether it be writing that goal down and sticking it on the mirror so you see it every single day. That way you know exactly what you're going for. Or just iterizing it on a daily basis to your team members. Hey, remember to do this. This due date is this. This due date is that. Iterizing those things and communicating those goals and how things should be done will overall help things get done and overall help your firms and overall individual selves make sure those get done. That's the whole point of setting a goal and beginning with your vision. Next, we'll go into ejections. Those are things you want to avoid. Ejections are never good. You don't want to get kicked out of a workplace or a project or just out of your friend group even. Those are all things you want to avoid. Forcing your vision is one way to be able to do that. You don't want to force your vision because that can create negative environments within your peers, your team members, your just individual selves. Because if you're forcing yourself to do something that you don't like, Now, of course, everyone will do something that they don't like eventually in life, but if you're forcing yourself to do something overall that you disagree with as a whole, you're probably not gonna focus on it as much as you would something that you do like or something that you do want to do, because that goal is not as oriented as it should be. Next, you don't want to create bad habits. Creating bad habits will get you ejected, or something you don't want to do is because of the fact that if you create bad habits, you're going to get lazy, you're going to do things that you're not supposed to be doing, and then the things you're supposed to be doing, you're not going to be doing those because you created the bad habit of doing something else or doing the opposite of it. The next thing is allow a negative culture. As a leader, what you don't want to do, allow a negative culture around you. Same thing like people always say, don't allow those negative people to influence your decision-making skills. Because of the fact that those are negative feedback that you don't want in your life or don't want in your team as a whole, you want to get rid of that or even just cancel it out, because obviously you're not the director or manager or team leader. You can't kick everyone out of your groups, right? But it's one thing to allow them to do it, but it's another thing for you to listen to it and take account from it, because you don't have to listen to all negative feedback. You decide what feedback you take, and you decide what is good for you and your goal in the overall end. Next, we're going to go into field goals or possibilities that you can use throughout your teams or firms. First thing is to create benchmarks. You want to create specific goals within goals. Those mini goals will help you reach that end goal, because those benchmarks will help you keep track of where you are throughout your presentation or firm or project, wherever it may be. Creating those benchmarks will help you get there and keep you on track. Second thing is to influence with positivity. Just like influencing with negativity will influence positive feedback, because it'll outweigh it. Because everyone likes to hear, great job, you're doing great, or keep doing this because you're doing that. Hey, help your colleague out because I know you do this well. Ask them to help you because they do it well. That positivity and culture will create a bond between you and your teammates, or even your individual self, because it'll give you that confidence to boost up your morale and boost up your teammates' morale. The next thing is to create a compromise. Creating a compromise is always a good thing, but it's also a possibility throughout anything. There's things you can do and you have to do, and there's things that can be adjusted and you can ask your boss or your friends to make a compromise for you. Compromise being something that you may not necessarily like how they're doing it, but you can do it this way, and then of course you'll reach the same end goal. It's the same thing, but in a different way. Next things are flags. Those are setbacks. It's different from ejections because you're not physically getting kicked out of it. Flags will essentially set you back, but it's something you can overcome, or a hurdle you can overcome. The first thing is failing to complete a project. Just because you fail to complete a project or a goal or a benchmark doesn't necessarily mean that it's a complete failure. It's a setback. Because you can overcome that hurdle, because you can still finish it, obviously it's still needed. You were doing it for the first place, right? There's not something that you're just doing just because you want to do it for fun or whatever. It's something that you do need to do, and it's something that you've been working towards. Finish it right, and if it's a quote-unquote failure, continue to finish it and improve on it, because you could still use that. Next thing is losing a team member. Everyone essentially loses a team member, whether it be in a project, after a project, or even before a project starts. For example, at the very beginning of this class, we actually had a team member in our group. The guy didn't exist after the first day, and we were all really confused because there was 4 of us, and we're supposed to have 5 people, and we're just kind of scrambling for why everyone has to increase so much time and everything. But a couple days later, one of our group members got added back into our group, and we were all okay. Losing a team member may not necessarily be the most fun thing, but it could be a setback throughout your whole presentation or your whole group project or work project that essentially gets you done. It takes you a lot longer to finish it than it would normally. Next and the last thing is losing track of your goal. If you lose track of your goal, it's a setback. Just like benchmarks. You have to set benchmarks for yourself and your team and your individual basis, right? Because without that, you're going to lose track of your goal, and you're not going to get to that end goal that you've been trying to reach. This all comes back to beginning with a vision and creating a vision or goal that is correct for you guys as a whole, and of course as a team as a whole. In doing so, you will make sure to reach those goals and create a goal that is good for you. Next, I'm going to pass it on to Simran here after our first time out. So, this is our activity right here. So, I'm going to ask you guys a question, and I'm going to throw one of you the football, and you're going to answer the question to the best of your ability. So the first question would be, what is 2 points or 2 touchdowns that are possible throughout the presentation or your overall goal?
Overall touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. How to score 2 touchdowns. What are 2 points?
On the spot, I go one blank.
That's okay.
Cramped up, man.
You can use the game plan.
You can use your
by the
game
way.
plan.
I use the game.
You can use your game plan.
Cheat sheets. Oh man. Shape your vision.
Okay?
You shape your vision, and you can also how you communicate.
Perfect. So for those who didn't hear, it's shaping your vision and communicating your vision. Those are 2 ways you can score touchdowns. Awesome work. 2 points for you. Okay, next question.
Let me give them.
What are 2 ways to get ejected from the football game? I'll throw it to you.
To get ejected.
Whatever you feel like are necessary points.
Focus on the end line
Okay?
and pinpoint the target.
Perfect. For those who didn't hear, he said focus on your end line and pinpointing your targets. Next, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Simran here, and she will teach you.
Alright, moving on to the second quarter, I will be talking about developing your vision. The first recommendation is the touchdowns. Focusing on your end line. As a leader, you must know what's important and what you need to prioritize. By focusing on your end line, you focus on that specific target and you have a goal in mind. Having a strong vision statement will capture the audience's attention and they'll follow along better. One vision statement that we picked out was from the NFL. So the NFL's vision statement is to bring fans and communities from all walks of life together to celebrate a game that is constantly evolving, balancing the authenticity of tradition with the power of innovation. So having a vision statement as such will kind of empower your team members or your audience members to work towards that specific goal. The second one is pinpointing the target, or your vision must be attainable. You should always keep in mind if you can attain that specific goal. For example, if a leader was to give his team members a task that was set to be due in 5 hours, but the leader himself knows that the task will take about 3 days to finish, that's not a goal that you can attain, and that way it's not an attainable target, and your team members wouldn't be able to do it. Moving on to the share your field of vision, communicating your vision. It's really important as a leader to be able to share what your vision is, and communicating your vision to others in a crystal clear way will result in positive feedback. Committing to your vision, whether it's in presentations, meetings, or even speeches or everyday conversations with others, can help the other individuals grasp onto what your vision is and follow along with it. Next, we'll move on to ejections, which are some things that you should not do when you're developing your vision. Crossing the end line. If you lose focus of your vision, you won't be able to relay it to the rest of the team. A leader must be able to stay focused on the objective at hand and do everything possible to attain that goal. Missing the target is our second one. An attainable target is your best friend. If you try to overshoot or overreach something that you're sure that wouldn't work out, you're putting your whole team at risk. A quote that we pulled out of the chapter that we're reading was, "Credibility is a well that runs dry when you're stretching the truth." So it's really important to be credible as well, and that's something that you should definitely do. The third one is withholding valuable information. If you don't give the correct information and withhold it from your employees or team members, you're only setting them up for failure. For example, if a coach didn't give their football team the proper plays in advance, then there's a high chance that that football team would fail. Moving on to our third and fourth recommendations. Okay, field goals are our possibilities. The first one is creating a game plan. By making a game plan, a leader can voice their vision and implement it properly with ease. Creating visuals or maybe presentations or something that can help aid the team members or the audience members will allow them to understand what your goals are or what your vision is and what you're trying to relate to them. The second one is encouraging your team. A leader should always encourage his or her team. By doing so, you will have in return more positive results. Using strong words or phrases such as "keep pushing" or "you can do it" can go a very long way. And the third one is recapping your goals, repeating what your vision statement is and what your goals are and how you're trying to achieve them can help your audience as well, employees or even team members connect back to what your vision statement essentially is. The fourth one is the flags or the setbacks, making a blunder. Not using a game plan and not having a goal or objective in mind as a leader will just result in a lot of failure. The second one is misusing your title. Being the leader or being given a title such as a captain doesn't mean you get to boss everybody around. As a leader, you're there to guide others and help them solve problems and not just have other people run errands for you. And then fumbling. Being clumsy with your responsibilities or will essentially discourage your audience. As a leader, you must be prepared and live and breathe what your vision statement is. All right, now we'll be moving on to our second timeout. Once again, we'll take about 2 minutes to ask you questions, and if you get it right, you'll get candy. The first question is, okay, can I just throw it to anybody? Do you mind if I throw it to you?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. All right, the question is, can you tell me how you can use one of the touchdown recommendations to develop a vision as a leader? So you can look back at your game plan and look down at the touchdowns part.
Sorry, can you answer your question again?
Yes. Can you tell what touchdown, or what are 2 touchdown recommendations that you can use to develop the vision as a leader?
I would say one of them would be to communicate to all your peers
Okay. Mm-hmm.
what your vision is.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, and then one more.
Oh.
Yeah, I asked for 2.
Oh, and
Yeah, sorry.
the other one would be create a vision that, I would say actually communicate to your vision.
Communicate. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Let me get the candy for you first. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I ask you a question now? Okay, perfect. Okay, so the second question was, can anyone tell me what one flag is that you should avoid as a leader? And then you can check back on your game plan to see.
Misusing your title, fumbling.
Yes, okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
I'm just gonna pass.
Okay, thanks.
So for those of you who didn't hear, he said fumbling or misusing your title was the answer.
Okay, now I'll be passing it on to Zane to have our halftime show.
Perfect. So, I know everyone's already tired. It's a late class. Let's give you guys a little break by showing you an inspiring video of the Stanford football team. What this video will entail is just a bunch of leadership in the off-season that the Stanford football team has to endure. For those of you who don't know what football is or in the off-season, it's a season where essentially they're not playing any games, they're just prepping for the next season. And this video will show a great way of leadership skills that were endured by them.
Let's go, hurry up!
The evening kind of started off with none of us really knowing what we were getting ourselves into. Kind of just went up there and knew we had a tough challenge ahead of us, and you know it was exactly that. It was tough, and we went through a series of events that was really challenging, and I got to saw people lead in different ways that I haven't seen before, and I thought that was really cool.
Seeing the team come together and work together, I mean, learning from those are guys who have learned to work together so intimately because every situation is life or death. And I mean, it's not life or death for us, but it's important for us if we really want to get to where we want to go, to be working together just as seamlessly as they do.
Because everything we do in life is habit forming. Everything. Winning to habit, losing to habit, tackling, pass blocking, everything.
First quarter was a circuit of push-ups, burpees, core exercises, jumping jacks, and it was just to execute all at the same time on cadence. There's a lot of pressure on the team leader up in front. I had to call out others. Everybody had to be in detailed lines with those. So it was just everybody getting on the same page, being one team, one heartbeat.
It's online tempo. Push up.
You're going to battle. There can't be any second guesses. any holding back.
This is your job tonight, right here.
And as we got more comfortable and started over, we learned that you got to be looking out for others more than yourself.
When guys get fatigued, a lot of times that fatigue can attack their mindset. And it was my job, as well as the other injured guys, to get there right next to them and find a way to get them on rhythm, whether it's just telling them that they're off so they can identify it, or physically grabbing their body and positioning it to the right position.
Stop blaming my teammate. Start holding your teammates accountable.
They told us, leaders, when things go well, you get the praise. When things go bad, you get that those undue consequences. So there was a lot of pressure on us, but it forced us to execute and do well.
We have a great team. We got a good team. We have the best team.
Football relates to life in many different ways. So being that we didn't start fast when we first got out there, but we always know whenever we don't start fast, we have to make up for it. That's equivalent to in the first quarter. If you don't have a really good quarter, you still have 3 more quarters to go. And we finished off pretty strong.
Sure, part of mental toughness is built.
So, you can see from that video, of course, the Stanford football team endured a lot. Throughout their course of their offseason, they witnessed leadership skills, they developed their own leadership skills, and they held each other accountable and their own teammates accountable. Again, leadership is not about holding or leading someone or just telling someone what to do. It's about holding them accountable and letting them tell you or letting them train you on how to do something. That way they're able to learn as an individual, and of course it makes your team stronger and your bond stronger. Next, I will pass it on to Melvin, and he will teach you to communicate your vision.
Hello. Sorry. Hello everyone. Now that halftime is over, we're going to come back to the field and we're going to finish a football game. My name is Melvin. I'm going to give you guys more information regarding how to effectively communicate your vision. So as we said in the beginning, touchdowns are what the football teams look for in every game. They know that touchdowns will win them a game. And please take note in your game plans of the touchdowns that I'll discuss and how to communicate your vision effectively. So first, communicate to all your peers. As author Judy Humphrey states in her book, Speaking as a Leader, communicating your vision is your responsibility. Simply put, if you have a vision and want others to follow that vision, you have to communicate it. Communication is key for any vision. Second, create a vision that is positive. Most individuals follow a vision that is positive. Perhaps you want to do something good for the environment, or you want to do a positive project for your organizations. If it's something that's going to be positive, you're going to see that more people want to follow your vision, and you're going to have more help from people in your organization. And third, commit to your vision. It's your vision anyways. Why not follow it? Why not go through with it? So remember, you can win people support for your vision if they see yourself committed to that vision. If you adequately show your commitment, sooner or later, people around you will start paying attention to your vision. Next, ejections, what not to do. So ejections are recommendations that we tell you guys, don't do this because this will definitely affect your outcome for your football game. So first, don't downplay your vision. This will only hurt the success of your vision, and downplaying your vision is the opposite of committing to it. And people can see when you downplay your own vision. If you downplay your own vision, why would someone want to follow you? It just doesn't make sense. Next, don't engage in many details. As author Humphrey also states, best ideas get lost in a sea of content. Keep your details to a minimum. Don't give too many details regarding your vision, because people will get lost. People get bombarded with details every single day at their work, and your vision that you want them to follow will be the last thing in their minds. And finally, don't communicate vague instructions. If you want others to do something that will be fundamental to the outcome of your vision, then you must instruct each individual on how they can do their part. Remember, sometimes people need guidance, and you have to be responsible in providing that guidance to them. Next, field goals, which are, as we stated, are possibilities. Learn from other leaders. There's many leaders out there. Perhaps you follow Steve Jobs' vision for Apple, or Jeff Bezos' vision for Amazon. You can use what they did to encourage other people to follow their vision. They set examples for everybody, and you can easily look them up and see how they talk to their employees, how they communicated to their organization. Follow what they did, use their examples, and implement it when you communicate to your vision. Next, reinforce your vision. So take every opportunity you have to reinforce your vision. Perhaps you can send out, every time you send out an email to your organization, make sure that your vision statement is somewhere in your email, or put it in your slides when you are doing a presentation. Just talk about your vision. Repetition is key. So the more you reinforce your vision, the more people will understand, and it will be in their minds, and then they will just automatically, think about it just by looking at you. So they put a face to a vision and they start acting upon it. Third, offer your assistance. In any organizations, you're going to have individuals that might get confused. They probably need more information about your vision. Make sure that you make yourself available. It could be probably during a presentation or after the presentation. Just stay a few minutes, and if they have questions, let them come to you and if you can give them more information and answer their questions. Next, we have flags. So, as we discussed, flags can definitely hurt your chances of winning the football game. First, acknowledge your opposition. In any organization or group, you will have people that will not support anything that you do or say. That's part of working with other people. So these people can become obstacles when you're communicating your vision, and therefore you must acknowledge who they are and not ignore them. Sometimes these individuals will recruit other people to go against your vision, and then instead of being one, you're going to have a big group of people that don't want to do anything that you tell them. So make sure that you get that one person before they recruit other people, and get them in your side. Just talk to them, communicate to them. Next, deal with uninspired peers. So uninspired individuals can also hinder the success of your vision. The uninspired may not technically oppose your vision, but if you leave them in their uninspired state, they will slow down the success of your vision. For example, in a tug of war challenge, you have individuals that, those that actually want to win, so they're giving their full effort pulling on that rope. But you also have individuals that they don't want to get their hands hurt, they don't want to get dirty, and they're just giving you just half of an effort. It becomes really, really difficult to win a tug of war if you have people in your group that are not giving their 100%. Same thing. Deal with the uninspired individuals. Make sure that they join your vision that you have, and if you get them working in your team, they're going to help you win. And lastly, discuss negative comments. So if you hear negative comments, don't run away from them. Don't ignore it. It's best for you to acknowledge the negative comments and create a solution with those individuals that have the negative comments. Negative comments may arise because individuals are not fully engaged in your vision, and you can use this opportunity, like I said, to change those negative comments and create it into a positive reinforcement of your vision. Now, just got to the timeout, so I have also a few questions that I would like to ask. So, I'm going to choose someone at random. Can you tell me one recommendation of the touchdowns that I said in regards to communicating your vision?
You can create a vision that is positive.
Perfect. So you say you can create a vision that is positive. As I stated, most people, if they see a positive vision, they will go with it. It just makes more sense. We want to do good. As human beings, we normally try to do good. So if you see something that's positive, it just automatically points you that way to follow that vision. Now, so can you give me one recommendations of how to avoid the flags in communicating your vision?
Downplaying your vision?
Downplaying your vision. Exactly. So he said, don't downplay your vision. It's your vision. Just stick with it. Go with it. Just make sure you reinforce your vision at the same time. So next, Jose is going to give more information on how to lead from below.
Thank you. So it's the fourth quarter. It's crunch time, which means it's time to lead from below. It's time to lead your leader, boss your boss, and manage your manager. Leading from below means that everyone in the company or the team or organization is given the opportunity to have a leading role. Starting off with touchdowns, it is important to think beyond hierarchies. So thinking beyond hierarchies will allow you to start thinking will allow the people in your team to start thinking of themselves as more of leaders rather than just followers. Whether they are rookies or seasoned veterans, it is important that everyone in the team gets an opportunity to show what they can do. If you give them an opportunity, they can blow you away. And secondly, it's important to build up your confidence. You cannot expect others to trust you if you can't trust yourself. Have the confidence to let others lead once in a while when they are better suited to do so in the circumstance. No one is perfect, and all that we can really ask of somebody is to give 110% every single play, and make sure that even if they lose, they learn something out of the loss, so every loss doesn't really feel like a complete loss. They gotta take something out of every situation. Third, it's important to build positive relationships. Back when I was a freshman in high school, I was a wide receiver, and I was able to get open for a couple of plays, but it didn't really matter because I was not very good friends with the quarterback, and another wide receiver was, and he was given the better opportunities. But come sophomore year, I built up a better rapport with the quarterback, and I was able to get a couple more looks when I was open and score a couple of touchdowns because of a simple positive relationships. Moving on to ejections, you don't want to get thrown out of the game, so do not blame others for your failures. As soon as you start blaming others for your failures, you are saying that you are not in control of the situation, but that is not true. Although if you are leading from below, meaning if you're in a leading position, you're not physically in the game, you're still moving the pieces. So just remember that no game starts lopsided. There's always a possibility to win a game with a good strategy. Secondly, you do not want to command and control. This is the older type of leadership where the people at the top of the table just do whatever they want, and they don't really listen to the people in the bottom. This is what you do not want to do, because you will lose a lot of 5-star prospects on your team, and they will go to someone that will offer them those opportunities. Lastly, you do not want to ignore the people beneath you. So if people are coming up to you and you're trying to lead from below, and you do not really let them express themselves, then you're not being a good leader in this game plan, so you will get ejected. Moving on to field goals, it is best to take help when it is offered. People take help for granted nowadays, and they don't realize how valuable help is. If you do not take help when it is offered, it might never be offered again, and you will lose out on a good, positive relationship because of it. Secondly, you should offer help even when they are not offering, even if they don't ask. And so think of all the possible relationships you missed out on because you were too shy, or you told yourself you were too busy to help someone. A bonus is if you help someone, it is a lot easier to ask for help in return. You should also improve yourself constantly. A lot of people think that imperfection is not good, but imperfection is actually a strength, not a weakness, because it allows people to realize that they need to work together in order to build new things, new traits in themselves. And when someone thinks they're perfect, they don't really want to learn anything new because they think they know it all. So it's best to avoid that. Moving on to flags. It is a major flag if you think you're superstar, but if you think you're not superstar material. Just remember that Arnold Schwarzenegger was still born a baby. Everyone no one is born a superstar, and it's important to know that everyone is given the ladder to heaven, but it's important to know that everyone has to make that climb in order to be great. Secondly, it's not very good to hold on to your past mistakes. So realize that everybody makes mistakes, and especially in football, you play the same team in your division twice. So if they beat you the first time, kind of recollect yourself, look at your strategy, learn from what you did wrong, and come back better and stronger the second time to defeat an obstacle. And lastly, it's a major flag if you avoid new positive relationships. So some people might think that a town may be too, this town ain't big enough for the both of us, but just know that you can always make that town into a city or even an empire if you are able to bring enough people in and build those positive relationships to get a good, strong winning team. So now I'm going to ask a couple questions on this timeout. Ooh, nice arm. So, can you tell me a touchdown for this quarter?
Lead from below?
Yeah, for leading from below.
To build up your confidence?
Yeah. So it's very important to build up your confidence because in a team that's trying to lead from below, some people might not think that they're good enough, but just know that no one starts out great, no one starts out the best, so it's important to know that everyone is trying to improve it, and just go out there and do your best, and you'll be fine. Feel free to intercept if you catch the ball. Oh, so can you tell me a flag for leading from below?
Flag, leading from below. Hold on to pass mistakes.
Yeah, so on the same topic, everyone makes mistakes and no one is perfect, so just know that there's always tomorrow, there's always a new obstacle to overcome that will make you be like, oh, like why was I even worrying so much about this? So just remember that you'll be fine. And now I'm going to pass it on to Dan so he can finish it up in overtime.
Okay, so I'll be talking about focusing your vision, and like Melvin said, today's communication is basically dominated by an information dump. It's focused on details and a lot of information without much explanation. When a leader